Hello, this is Unknown, bringing you some tutorials in Logic Pro. Okay, so what I wanted to do today was bring you along in a little project I've started. I'm very new into this. I've really not done much, and I wanted to show you the power of parallel processing and the impact that can have on a very simple arrangement with a very few sounds. And really, in this example, I'm using this to add some atmosphere and a bit of character to the track at a very early stage, using just a few simple drum sounds. And basically what I have here is an instance of Ultrabeat, and I've loaded some drum sounds into this using the drag and drop samples kit to make my own drum kit, and that's it. Everything else is done using some sends. I have only 3 sends that I'm using with some processing on it, and that's it. What I'll do, I should just say I've tried making this video once today already, and for some reason when I came to edit the video, my screen capture software decided to freak out and deleted the lot. So this is my second attempt at this. So fingers crossed it works out a bit better. Before I get into this, I just want to say thank you to everyone that's been watching my videos. The last one I made, the punchy drum secret, it's had over 650 views now, which I know in YouTube land for some YouTube users is not a huge amount, but for me it's something of a it's been quite a shock that it's got so many views in quite a short time, and I really appreciate it, so I just wanted to say thank you for that. Anyway, let's get on with this video. I haven't really been making much music recently, and when I have, I've been picking up my guitar again and making some metal and hardcore songs. So but I thought I'd get back into some electronica for you. Okay, let's walk through what we have so far. What I'm going to do, I'm going to turn off all the processing first so you can hear the basic drum sounds. Okay, so in Ultrabeat I've basically got 2 kick sounds, thusly, and I have 2 snare sounds. Now some of you may, if you've watched my last video about called Punchy Drum Secret, you may notice I'm using that technique here, using the synth part of Ultrabeat to add a sine wave to the drum sounds to make them sound a bit fatter. So I'm using that on both the kick sounds and this snare sound on sample 4. Okay, so yes, we've got two kick sounds, 2 snare sounds. I also have a hi-hat pan to the left, a shaker sound pan to the right, and then I also have another kick sound which I've processed a little bit. I'll come back to that in a minute. And then basically I've just set up this very simple drum pattern, which is a drum and bassy type drum pattern. So I'll give you a quick listen without any processing, and this is what it sounds like. So as you can tell, it's pretty naff. There's not much going on there at all, but you know, it gets us started. Now what I'm going to show you here is a few ways to add some atmosphere and character to the music you're making to really inspire you to get into that tune, and so that's what I'm doing here. Okay, Now let's look at the processing. Basically, it's very simple. I have 3 bus sends. The first 2, 1 and 2, are pretty much reverb channels. And a bus 1 is this channel here, and I've basically got a space designer on it with quite a small reverb on there, and then a channel EQ which is cutting out most of the lows and then boosting some of the highs. If I solo this, let's just have a quick listen. This really isn't adding too much, it's just adding a little bit of space and a bit of a room sound to the drums. It's very subtle. I'm not sending an awful lot on the sends, and I've pulled the output of the fader volume on that reverb down as well. So it's just a subtle, just giving it a bit of space really. Now the main processing that I'm doing is on bus 2, which again is really just a reverb channel. Let me unmute that. So again, I'm using Space Designer, and this is using a large reverb this time. This is, again, when you open up a software instrument in Logic X, it will give you 2 bus sends anyway, which is a small reverb and a large reverb. So I've basically just used those that came up automatically, and I've just sort of processed them from there. I haven't even selected a different reverb. But I mean, obviously you can change that and choose whichever reverb you want. And then apart from the reverb, I have to tell you what, let's just bypass EQ, and I'll just let you listen to this. Oh, hang on, sorry, I need to play it from here, don't I? So that's a reverb, very large, boomy kind of reverb. Now what I'm doing to this, I'm adding an EQ, and what I'm doing is I'm cutting out all of the subby frequencies up to 56 Hertz, and then I've got a high cut which is starting at around 170 Hertz with a 6 dB per octave slope on there. So it's cutting out quite a lot of the high end, but it's not a really harsh cut, so it's quite a gradual cut. Let me just bypass that and I'll bring it back in so you can listen to it. Sorry, I need to keep opening up Ultrabeat, don't I? Whoops. So this to me is just really adding some ambience, some atmosphere. What it sounds like to me is that you're standing at the end of a long corridor, and down at the other end of the corridor is a room where a drummer's playing, and you're just getting an echoey, boomy kind of feel from that, which I quite like. And so that's basically that for the reverb, and EQing just to give us a kind of a character to the sound. Now from there, I felt that that reverb was a bit too much when combined with the drums, and it was too sort of overpowering in the mix. So if I just play that with the drums brought back in, let's have a quick listen. So I like what it's doing, but there's too much reverb, there's too much going on there, and especially if you want to start adding in other elements and other parts, which no doubt you will, it's going to make for a very muddy mix if you're not careful. So what I decided to do was use a sidechain and put a compressor on this channel, and then use a sidechain to basically to make the compressor pump the sound in and out, so it's not a continuous wall of reverby noise. Excuse me while I drink my coffee. Okay, so to do that, it's quite simple. What I've done is I've on the kick, I decided to use the kick as the trigger for the sidechain. So what I'm doing is I'm sending this to bus 3, which I've named S-chain for sidechain. Let's unmute this. And that's basically it. The only other thing I've done is I've changed the output of this channel to no output. It would default to a stereo output, but because we don't want any signal sending from this channel to the main output, we only want to use it as a trigger for the compressor. I'm going to change that to no output, which you do if you click on here, and it will show you there, no output. Okay, so that's not going to send anything. Now on this reverb channel, let's open up the compressor. Now this is one of the standard Logic compressors in Logic Pro X. So in here, first thing we need to do, if we go to the sidechain up here, come to the drop down menu, and then we select the bus that we've just set up, which is bus 3. Now our compressor is going to be detecting that bus or whatever's being sent to that bus, and that will trigger the compressor to basically switch on and off, or to actually work. Now with the compressor, I'm using quite heavy settings. I've got the threshold at about -40. I've got the ratio up at 12. I've not really done much with the makeup gain. I've turned the auto gain off. You could leave that on if you want. I've got a very short attack time, only 3 milliseconds, and quite a long release time. And I've turned the auto release off, and I'm just adding a bit of soft distortion on the output just to boost it a little bit. So let's have a listen. What I'll do, if I bypass this, I'll play it with, and then I'll without, and then I'll bring the compressor in. Hopefully you'll hear what it's doing. I keep forgetting I need to play it from here. Okay. Okay, so hopefully you're picking up what effect that's giving it. It's not a particularly subtle effect, so hopefully you should hear that. The idea of this is to really clear out some of that boomy just mess and noise that the reverb is adding to the track. And it's basically moving out the way when the kick's hitting. So when the kick's punching, the compressor kicks in, it drops the volumes. The effect that we're getting is that the sound of the reverb is ducking down, and then as the compressor releases, the volume is coming back up. And so basically it makes space for the kicks, so you're not going to muddy up where your kicks are hitting too much, but you're still getting that ambience without too much mess. Now the other thing I've done is add a pitch delay. This is a free plugin by SoundHack. It's called the plus pitch delay. It's quite a fun little plugin. It's got you can get some really crazy sounds out of it. I did try making a video about this. The video didn't turn out too well. I may do one about this in the future. I'm not going to mess around with the plugin at the moment because I've got it set up to quite a nice sound, but you can get some really quite crazy sounds out of it. Let me bypass this again. I'll play this once more, and then I'll bring it in, and you can hear what that's doing to the sound. Okay, so I think you'll agree that that's really adding quite a lot of character to the tune that just wasn't there before. Before all the processing, we really had just a very plain just drum pattern, just some very simple drum sounds, nothing too inspiring whatsoever. I quite like the rhythm that sort of pumping compression gives to the track as a whole. So I'll tell you what, let's just do a quick comparison. Let's just mute the processing again. Let's have a quick listen to the original drum sounds. And now let's bring back in our processing. So quite a difference, I hope you'll agree. Now the other thing that I'm doing is with another sample that's in Ultrabeat. I mean, basically what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that at the moment all I'm using is one instance of Ultrabeat. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 samples loaded in here. That's it. I have no other instruments, no audio tracks, nothing. I haven't even dragged the MIDI pattern into the arranger window. It's just purely running out of Ultrabeat. And this is to just really show you how much of a difference you can make to very few simple sounds with some parallel processing. And that's hopefully what I'm getting across, the power there is in parallel processing to give you your music real depth and character. Okay, let's go to this sample. Firstly, what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn off the processing on this channel strip. Okay, now I've pitched this sample up and I've added a low shelf to cut out a lot of the low frequencies. It's basically a kick sound. Let me put this back to original pitch and let you have a listen to the sample as it originally was. Let me take the low shelf off. Okay. So it's just a pretty boring sounding kick. So yeah, just using the EQ in Ultrabeat just to cut out some of the lows, and then I've pitched it up to G#4, which sounds like that. I did adjust the amp envelope slightly, although I don't think that really did an awful lot to the sound because it's quite a short sample anyway. So that's really not a great sound. Now this is where the processing comes in. So the first thing, I've sent it to bus 1, which was our reverb channel. Sorry, I keep closing this. I should keep this open really. Okay, so can't really hear much of a difference. Now, when I turn on this bus 2, which is our reverb. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I've got the reverbs muted. Okay, so there we go. So without bus 1, now with the small reverb on bus 1. Okay, so it's giving it some space. Okay, now bus 2, the reverb, which I've processed further with the compression and pitch delay. Now the sounds is like this. Quite a bit different, I hope you'll agree. It almost sounds like like we're in a submarine or something with some sonar going off. Okay, now the processing I put on the actual channel strip. First things first, I've used an EQ. And what I'm doing here, let me take the sends off quickly. What I'm doing is basically cutting out all the lows, cutting out all the highs above 13 kilohertz. I've got an upper mid boost, a lower mid boost, and then a cut at around 540 hertz. So that's just to shape the sound really. Oops, what am I doing? Okay. So that's just basically just shaping that sound a little bit. I'm not using this second plugin, by the way. Then I'm adding an echo, the echo plugin that's in Logic. I've got it set to 8 triplets. I've put the color up and the repeat up quite high, and the wet's quite high as well. Just a very simple plugin, but it just adds a little bit of echo. Now the next one I'm using is a tape delay. This one, again, this is the stock Logic tape delay plugin, and I pretty much left it as it comes default. The only thing I've done to it is I've pushed the groove up to 75%. I've added a low cut and a high cut, and I've boosted the wet output ever so slightly. And so it now sounds like this. And that was basically to give a little bit more rhythm to the sound across the drum pattern. So without. So again, it's not doing a great deal, but I felt it just added a nice bit of extra rhythm and dynamic to the thing. Okay, so now the real, what's really affecting this sound is this plugin, which is, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, all the plugins I'm using on this project are either stock Logic plugins or they are freely available freeware plugins. So the pitch delay I showed you earlier, that is a freeware plugin, as is this one, Fracture, which is, if I move this out of the way, which is by Glitch Machines Fracture. What I'll do, I'll try and put a link in the description of this video so you can link to these plugins. Now this is quite a crazy plugin. It is good for giving you glitchy, strange, warped sounds. I find it a little bit hard to control and to sort of manipulate, and really kind of have sort of finite control over what it's doing, but you can get some really interesting sounds. And what I would probably mostly use this for is to find some interesting effects, bounce them out to audio, and then sort of chop out the really interesting sections and then build a composition out of those sounds. And then obviously you could tweak the parameters, get a slightly different sound, again bounce that to audio, so on and so forth. But yes, sorry, more coffee in my face. Thank you. Okay. So, with this plugin, I've basically used one of the presets, Rise of the Cyborg Kittens. Now, I have tweaked the preset slightly, and to be honest, I can't remember which parameters I've tweaked. I think I just started grabbing different parts and just changing them, and as you do, just playing about until I had something that I thought sounded interesting. Okay, so we've got it turned off at the moment. Let's play this and let you hear it without. Now when I bring this in, hopefully you should hear what this is doing. Yeah. Okay, so quite different from the original sound, which is, let's have a little reminder, which is that. So it goes to show you how far you can take a sound, a very what's the word, a very mediocre, very plain sound and make it quite interesting. Now if I also bring back the bus sends, it now sounds like this. So totally unlike the original sound. And that's pretty much it. Let's just have another quick listen. I tell you what I'm going to do. Let me drag a pattern out here. Okay. So we have gone from a very simple drum pattern in Ultrabeat using only 7 sounds, 2 kick sounds, 2 snare sounds, a hi-hat, a shaker, and a third kick sound which has been tweaked and processed to make an effects, a kind of an effect sound, I suppose. Yeah. Anyway, so let's just do a quick comparison of before and after. Let me take out the, so let's turn these off. So here's before. Whoop. Ah, okay, that's interesting. I didn't realise if you have only one instrument soloed in Ultrabeat, when you drag the pattern across, it mutes all the other regions. I did not know that. Okay, well, seems we learn something every day. Let's just go all. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is our opening gambit. This is our drum pattern, which, if I'm honest, from my point of view, is not very inspiring at all. Okay, let's add some reverb. A slight improvement. Now let's add some processed reverb. Yeah, that's more like it. Now let's add some weirdness. Okay, so there we go. That is the power of parallel processing. Hopefully you've learnt something today. Hopefully you've seen that it is possible to take a very simple idea and within a few maneuvers, was that good? Yeah, within a few maneuvers, a few techniques with parallel processing and some plugins, all of which are freely available, you can take this simple idea and push it into and give it a character and an ambience and an atmosphere all of its own. And for me, I find that much more inspiring, and it really helps me get into a track and to want to take it further. So yeah, there we go. That's how to use parallel processing to get some interesting atmosphere into your simple sort of song starting ideas. That wasn't a very good sentence, was it? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you for everyone that's subscribed to the channel. Thank you for everyone that's viewed my last video. I intend to do more, much more. I've been a little bit slack recently, I admit, and I really do want to pull my finger out and make some more for you guys. And if you have any suggestions for videos you'd like me to do, please send me a comment, and I will do my best to make those videos for you. So thank you, as always. Unknown Audio Creations. Bye all. See you later.